The global economy is shifting. For decades, we lived by one rule: free trade. Products, money, and ideas flowed freely across borders. But now, that's all changing. In Washington and Brussels, a new industrial policy is taking hold, built on tariffs, subsidies, and a nationalistic drive for reshoring. It's a strategic pivot that many are calling a return to protectionism. But is it a necessary shield or a self-inflicted wound? The answer could determine the future of global prosperity. Over the past 6 months, analysts have warned that the drag from these new policies is building. The big question is no longer if protectionism's back, but where this race will end. The most significant change agent is the US Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. On the surface, it's about climate change. The IRA offers hundreds of billions in tax breaks for green tech, but with a catch: the money heavily favors products made in the US. This is seen by many in Europe as a thinly veiled Buy American policy. European leaders are worried. A recent analysis from KPMG warns that IRA's subsidies are a powerful lure for companies to move their production of EVs and batteries to the United States. This could cause a brain drain and a loss of investment, making the EU less competitive. But not everyone agrees. A report from IEP at BU suggests the IRA's thorns for European firms might be small. It argues that while companies may expand their US operations, they won't necessarily abandon Europe. This view suggests the two continents might just be building parallel supply chains. The IRA was a wake-up call. Europe's initial response, the Green Deal Industrial Plan, is designed to be a direct countermove. But it's not about new money. As the European Parliament points out, it's about relaxing state aid rules to allow member states to give their own industries more subsidies. This has sparked fears of a subsidy race within the EU itself. A survey from IFO and Econpoll found that EU countries are divided. Some, like France, want more trade barriers, while others, like Germany, prefer open trade. This internal split is a threat to the EU's core unity. Europe's shift to strategic autonomy isn't just about the US. The pandemic and the war in Ukraine exposed critical vulnerabilities in global supply chains. A recent blog post from the European Central Bank noted that while a full reversal of globalization isn't happening yet, companies are definitely diversifying their suppliers. The first major casualty of this new era are global supply chains. For decades, companies optimized their networks for maximum efficiency. Now they're sacrificing that efficiency for resilience. The US has expanded tariffs on steel and aluminum, and the EU has fired back on American goods like bourbon. This back and forth creates massive uncertainty for businesses. A supply chain report from QIMA highlights that as buyers prioritize security over cost, global procurement has slewed sharply. This uncertainty is fueling a shift toward nearshoring or friendshoring, which brings production closer to home but at a higher cost. An editorial in the Financial Times warned this fragmentation could raise prices and stifle innovation. This economic competition is straining the transatlantic alliance, a relationship that has been the bedrock of the global order for over 70 years. The unilateral nature of the IRA feels like a betrayal to many in Europe. An analysis from the American Progress Center warned that this trade dispute could lead to a fundamental reevaluation of the partnership. This isn't just about money, it's about trust. With an unpredictable political climate in the US, Europe is now building its own defense capabilities to be less reliant on America. But leaders on both sides know the risk of a total breakdown. A recent joint statement from the EU and US showed they're still committed to finding common ground, especially when it comes to countering China. The return of protectionism is not a fleeting trend. It's a profound shift driven by a new mindset of national self-interest. While some see a chance to build more resilient economies and accelerate the green transition, others fear a self-inflicted wound. A recent IMF report noted that while the narrative of deglobalization is strong, the data doesn't yet show a clear reversal. The story is still being written. The choices made today will determine whether this new path leads to a more secure future or a global economic conflict.